The modern storm and the forgotten center, the modern world hums at a frequency too fast for the human soul. Screens glow day and night, messages multiply, attention splinters, and even leisure becomes performance. People scroll for connection, yet feel more isolated, chase productivity, yet lose purpose. In this blur, confidence has become imitation, posed smiles, loud opinions, curated feeds. But underneath the noise, every generation still feels the same quiet hunger, the wish to stand solid inside chaos, to radiate calm power without saying a word. Ancient teachers once called this quality ojaza, the stored vitality of a disciplined mind. Modern psychologists might call it self-regulation or emotional composure. Whatever the name, it points to the same truth. Inner energy, when conserved and directed, becomes influence. The person who can withhold reaction, who refuses to waste focus on every impulse, gains an invisible gravity. It is not repression, it is refinement. Like electricity, the same current that burns can also illuminate when contained within purpose. To live today is to bleed energy through 1,000 invisible cuts, constant comparison, unfinished goals, late-night worries, endless alerts. Each distraction drains the subtle battery that fuels clarity and magnetism. That is why so many feel exhausted, even after rest. Real rest does not come from sleep alone, but from the deliberate act of retaining attention. When you no longer give your power to every stimulus, you begin to gather it. The mind that was once scattered starts to glow from within, quiet yet alert. History shows that civilizations rise where people learn to direct their inner current. The yogis of India, the Stoics of Greece, the samurai of Japan. Each culture discovered in its own language that mastery of self precedes mastery of circumstance. Their practices differed, but their intention was identical: to transform restless instinct into steady awareness. They believed the individual who rules his mind rules his destiny. Today, science affirms this wisdom in new language. Neurobiology tells us that attention is a finite resource. Wherever it flows, neurons strengthen. Habits of distraction literally rewire the brain toward impatience and anxiety, while habits of focus sculpt neural pathways for persistence and creativity. In this sense, discipline is not punishment, it is engineering. Every moment of restraint is a microscopic act of creation inside the nervous system. Yet modern culture glorifies speed and exposure. We are told to express everything instantly, to respond immediately, to show and share without pause. Silence feels obsolete, stillness suspicious. But true magnetism has always been born from restraint. The most captivating individuals in any era, leaders, artists, mystics, are those who hold something back, who seem to move from an inner reservoir others cannot see. They are not hiding, they are harnessing. Imagine the human mind as a furnace. Each distraction opens the door and lets the heat escape. Each moment of focus closes it, intensifying the flame. Over time, that internal fire hardens resolve, sharpens perception, and warms everyone who comes near. People may not understand what they feel in such a presence, but they recognize it instinctively. It is the aura of someone who is full not of arrogance, but of energy. This is the first step toward authentic confidence, to stop leaking attention. Confidence is not loudness, it is containment. It begins the moment you realize that the same force which fuels anxiety can fuel purpose if redirected. The practice of gathering yourself, of choosing stillness over reaction, depth over displays, the modern form of ancient discipline. As the old Indian texts taught, when the senses are withdrawn from their objects, the mind becomes steady, like a lamp in a windless place. In that steadiness, energy accumulates. In that accumulation, clarity appears. And clarity is the root of all magnetism. Energy in motion. Confidence as quiet power. Once a person begins to hold their attention instead of letting the world seize it, a new current starts to flow through ordinary days. Conversations feel slower, decisions clearer. The same job, the same commute, the same responsibilities become different because the one performing them is different. Confidence no longer comes from external validation, but from the lived experience of control. Every time you resist the impulse to check, react, or complain, you prove to yourself that you can guide your own mind. That private proof becomes strength. Psychologists describe this process as self-efficacy, the belief that one's actions shape outcomes. Ancient teachers called it tapas, the inner heat generated by disciplined effort. Both terms describe energy that, once built, refuses to stay invisible. It seeps into voice, posture, and presence. The individual who has learned to master attention moves differently. The body mirrors the mind's order. Shoulders straighten, eyes rest instead of darting. Speech slows. Without realizing it, such a person begins to emit what modern culture calls presence. This transformation isn't mystical, it's physiological. When the nervous system isn't constantly hijacked by novelty, stress hormones drop and awareness expands. Calm becomes the default setting. People who meet you in that state often describe a feeling of safety and clarity around you, even if they cannot name why. The magnetism born from calm is subtle, yet unmistakable. It doesn't demand notice, it invites it. In daily life, this energy shows up as reliability. Projects finish on time because focus endures. Conversations deepen because you listen fully. Relationships strengthen because you respond instead of react. Each act of steadiness signals to the world that your energy is stable, and stability is irresistibly attractive in an age of chaos. Confidence is no longer an act performed for approval. It is the quiet assurance of being aligned with your own rhythm. Ancient Indian literature often portrayed disciplined individuals as luminous beings, surrounded by an unseen radiance. In modern terms, this glow is the psychological outcome of coherence, the alignment of thoughts, emotions, and actions. Coherence reduces inner noise, and reduced noise increases clarity. When you are clear, you become a mirror where others glimpse their own potential calm. That reflection draws them closer. Not because you seek attention, but because attention seeks peace. In a world obsessed with displaying confidence, genuine self-command stands out precisely because it does not advertise itself. The person who has mastered energy doesn't compete for space. They create it. Their silence is not withdrawal, but invitation. An open field in which others feel the possibility of balance. Such presence can't be faked or taught in a seminar, it must be lived, minute by minute, through the discipline of conserving and directing attention. True confidence is therefore an emanation, not a performance. It grows quietly within and radiates outward, the way a lamp fills a room without noise. The moment you stop chasing validation and start cultivating focus, you begin to glow with a kind of invisible certainty. People feel it long before they understand it. That is the subtle power of inner mastery. It communicates before words, influences without effort, and endures without display. The creative current, turning focus into purpose. As attention strengthens, energy begins to seek expression. Stillness does not mean stagnation. The quiet mind naturally starts to build. Ideas that once flashed and disappeared now take form because concentration gives them space to mature. Modern neuroscience calls this the incubation effect, when uninterrupted focus allows the subconscious to organize scattered impressions into insight. Ancient India described the same process through the image of tapas, inner heat refining raw material into brilliance. Both speak of transformation. Energy conserved becomes energy creative. In everyday life, this manifests as clarity of direction. The person who no longer dissipates energy on trivialities discovers what truly matters. Projects align, habits simplify, time feels deliberate. The constant pull to compare or explain fades, replaced by the satisfaction of progress. What once felt like pressure now feels like propulsion. Focus itself becomes a source of joy. Purpose, in this sense, is not something found outside. It arises when inner order meets opportunity. Many lose their sense of calling because their attention is divided among too many unfinished impulses. When the mind learns to retain energy, purpose crystallizes naturally. It is as if the noise of the world lowers just enough for a single clear note to be heard. That note is direction. Histories, inventors, artists, and sages all practiced this art in their own ways, closing the gates of distraction so creative current could build pressure. From a sculptor shaping stone to a coder refining an algorithm, every act of mastery follows the same law. What you feed with sustained energy grows. What you scatter fades. In that realization lies modern freedom. You no longer need to chase inspiration. You generate it. The disciplined individual often experiences a surprising side effect: time dilation. When attention is unified, minutes expand. Tasks that once strained motivation now feel immersive. The psychological term is flow, yet ancient yogic texts already mapped it samadhi, complete absorption. In both, the self dissolves and creation flows effortlessly through the channel of prepared focus. The result is work that carries a signature of presenza, certain vibrancy that others sense but cannot imitate. Material success, too, begins to shift. Instead of coming from aggressive ambition, it arises from coherence between intention and execution. People are drawn to collaborate with those who radiate steadiness. Investors trust consistency more than charisma. Audiences follow sincerity over spectacle. The individual who commands his attention becomes the rarest commodity in a distracted economy. His productivity isn't frantic, it's rhythmic. His results appear extraordinary only because most of the world is exhausted. Ancient teachers would say he has kindled his inner Agni, the sacred fire that transforms offering into blessing. In modern language, he has built sustainable momentum. Each disciplined act adds another log to the flame, warming his environment and lighting paths for others. Energy, once hoarded, now circulates. What began as retention ends as contribution. The quiet force of concentration turns into visible creation art, service, leadership, innovation. And through this process, confidence deepens into purpose. The mind no longer asks, "Am I enough?" but "What can I build with what I am?" This shift from self-doubt to self-direction is the mark of genuine empowerment. The inner fire that once flickered now burns steadily, a silent light guiding both ambition and empathy. Energy between people. Presence as connection. When an individual learns to hold his own energy, the world around him begins to respond differently. Every human interaction is an exchange of attention, and attention is the most valuable form of energy we possess. In an age where most people listen only to reply, the person who truly listens to understand, to absorb, it's a rare calm that others instinctively gravitate toward. The result is subtle but profound. Relationships start to feel less like negotiations of need and more like harmonies of focus. Modern psychology calls this attunement the ability to mirror and respond to another person's emotional state without losing your own balance. Ancient India framed it as maitri, compassionate awareness. Both arise from the same root, stillness. When your inner field is quiet, you perceive others more clearly. Your reactions slow down. Empathy sharpens. Instead of competing for attention, you offer it, and that offering is magnetic. This quality of presence often transforms communication. Words carry weight not because they are clever, but because they come from an undivided mind. The steady voice, the unhurried gesture, the genuine pause each signals respect and confidence. In the marketplace of constant noise, such signals stand out. People may not consciously identify what draws them. They simply feel safer, more seen, more centered around someone who does not leak energy through restlessness or pretense. In personal relationships, this steadiness becomes trust. Modern dating culture, full of performance and uncertainty, runs on scarcity of attention. The individual who retains composure in a sea of impatience becomes an anchor. His calm communicates reliability without promises. The ancient idea of brahmacharya described this as the conservation of life force for higher purpose. In today's language, it is emotional maturity, the ability to desire without dependence, to care without control. Presence built on self-command also changes how influence works. Instead of persuading by argument or status, one leads by example. Colleagues, friends, and partners respond to consistency more than charisma. When your actions reflect your words repeatedly, your credibility compounds like interest. The energy once spent on proving worth is redirected into being worthy. That shift from external validation to internal alignment makes authority effortless. From a neurological view, such calm exchanges regulate both nervous systems involved. Eye contact, breathing rhythm, and tone synchronize. Heart rates slow. This physiological resonance explains why disciplined individuals often uplift those around them. They literally transmit coherence. Ancient teachers describe the same phenomenon as satsang, the elevating company of the centered. In modern offices or households, it appears as morale, trust, and teamwork. Ultimately, mastery of attention turns relationships into mirrors for growth rather than arenas of depletion. You stop seeking completion from others because you have found it within. Paradoxically, this wholeness deepens intimacy. Love given freely, without the hunger of emptiness behind it, becomes lighter yet stronger. The same inner discipline that once guarded energy now allows its generous flow. Containment becomes connection. Control evolves into compassion. Thus the circle widens. The energy first gathered in solitude begins to heal the collective noise. In every era, society has needed such examples. People who can hold composure amid panic, who can listen amid shouting. They remind everyone that peace is contagious too. The person who masters his attention doesn't withdraw from the world. He steadies it. The alchemy of focus, turning energy into creation. When inner energy stops spilling through distraction, it begins to accumulate like pressure beneath the surface of the earth. In ancient texts, this reservoir was called ojeza, subtle essence of vitality that fuels brilliance, courage, and creativity. Modern science might call it cognitive control or dopamine regulation, yet the essence remains the same. When the mind ceases to chase stimulation, it rediscovers depth. Focus transforms into power. Every great civilization, invention, and work of art began as compressed attention. In an age dominated by endless scrolling and synthetic urgency, those who reclaim their ability to concentrate are the new alchemists. Their gold is clarity, the ability to see patterns others miss, to sustain vision when novelty fades. Retaining energy, in this sense, is not about abstaining from life, but refining engagement with it. Energy becomes art only when directed through intention. Look around the modern world. The most magnetic creators, leaders, and innovators share one invisible trait: undistracted mind. They carry the calm confidence of people who are not pulled by every trend or temptation. When others seek excitement, they seek excellence. When others follow impulses, they follow principles. This difference, though invisible, determines destiny. Success is rarely luck. It is the outcome of invisible self-governance practiced daily. In ancient India, yogic disciplines described this transformation through the metaphor of fire. The retained life force, when purified by focus, rises upward as tapas, the inner heat of creation. Tapas doesn't burn the world, it illuminates it. Today's version of tapas might be the quiet consistency of an entrepreneur coding through the night. the writer revising line after line, or the athlete training long after applause has faded. Behind each stands the same law. Energy obeys command, not chaos. Energy discipline also alters the relationship with desire. Instead of extinguishing it, one learns to redirect it. Desire becomes drive. Longing becomes leadership. The same impulse that once scattered attention toward fleeting pleasure now fuels purpose. This transmutation is what mystics meant when they said, "The body is the laboratory of the soul." In the modern context, it means that your habits sculpt your future more deeply than luck or talent ever could. The modern professional environment rewards exactly these traits: clarity, composure, sustained intensity. In meetings, people listen more to the one who speaks least, but with conviction. In innovation, breakthroughs emerge not from frantic brainstorming, but from the quiet persistence of a clear mind. The ancient sage meditating by the Ganges and the modern visionary designing a startup app share the same secret: mastery over inner turbulence. Yet this mastery does not make life rigid or joyless. On the contrary, it makes joy deeper because it is no longer dependent on escape. The mind that has tasted silence enjoys sound more. The man or woman who has faced solitude appreciates connection without fear of loss. Energy held in awareness doesn't dull the senses, it heightens them. Every experience, from art to love, feels richer when one is not unconsciously leaking energy through restlessness. In this way, energy retention becomes the hidden foundation of creative genius and enduring success. The modern world celebrates results but forgets the root cause: attention purified by discipline. The ancient Indian masters knew this when they said, "As is your focus, so is your world." To command your energy is to command your reality. And those who do not pray for outcomes but shape them through presence become the quiet architects of their fate. Magnetic leadership, the unspoken command of presence. Leadership in any era has never truly been about titles or control, it has always been about energy. The leader is not the loudest person in the room, but the one whose energy remains unmoved when chaos erupts. In ancient India, kings were trained not only in warfare but in brahmacharya and tapasya disciplines of restraint, clarity, and composure. The reason was simple: to govern others, one must first master oneself. In today's world of constant stimulation, such self-command has become a superpower. The person who does not flinch under pressure, who listens before speaking, who emanates calm while others panic, such a person instantly draws respect. Colleagues instinctively turn toward them. Friends seek their advice, and even in silence, their presence speaks volumes. This is not charisma born of performance. It is magnetism born of mastery. When your mind and emotions are not scattered, your words carry coherence, and coherence is contagious. In social life and attraction, the same law applies. Modern relationships often operate on emotional volatility, fast chemistry, faster detachment. But genuine magnetism arises from stillness, not pursuit. When a person retains their energy, they exude a subtle intensity that others can feel but cannot quite define. It's the aura of someone who does not need validation, yet gives attention fully. The paradox of attraction is that detachment fuels desire. When you no longer chase, you become the gravitational center that others orbit. Modern psychology calls this secure energy a mix of grounded confidence and emotional availability without dependency. The ancient sages described it as shukta, luminous power stored through disciplined living. Whether one interprets it scientifically or spiritually, the outcome is the same. Energy held inward creates outward command. People sense integrity even when words are few. That's why authentic confidence never needs explanation, it's felt before it's seen. Leadership today is not limited to boardrooms. Every individual leads something: their family, their community, their art, or even their own healing journey. To lead with energy mastery means to guide through vibration rather than demand. A centered person alters the emotional climate of a space. Their calm slows the collective pulse. Their decisiveness resolves hesitation in others. This is what the Bhagavad Gita meant when it said, "The wise man acts without attachment, and through his example, the world is guided." The quiet power of retention, therefore, is not repression but refinement. You don't silence emotion, you channel it. You don't escape desire, you harness it into purpose. You don't reject the material world, you elevate it through consciousness. The true leader learns to wield fire without burning, to command respect without speaking, to love without losing balance. Modern success stories, from disciplined athletes to visionary creators, the same truth. Control of energy precedes control of outcomes, and this control doesn't emerge from isolation. It's forged in daily choices, turning off distractions, managing impulses, respecting your own time, and keeping promises to yourself. Over time, such self-respect builds a field of reliability around you. People trust not because you claim power, but because your presence reassures them. They can feel that your energy is not cheap, your focus not for sale, your attention not scattered. That's how modern magnetism is born, through invisible discipline. Thus, to command the universe is not mystical exaggeration. It simply means aligning one's inner order so deeply that outer events begin to respond in kind. The leader doesn't beg for outcomes, they embody the energy that attracts them. The universe listens not to words but to vibration, and vibration follows mastery. The silent, disciplined mind becomes the true architect of influence, wealth, and connection without chasing any of them directly.